In November of 1879, 250 Mormon pioneers took 83 wagons and 1,000 head of livestock on a perilous trek to find a shortcut to the Colorado River and eventually build a settlement in San Juan County. A year later, after blasting a narrow notch in the canyon wall, the party descended a precipitous 1,000 feet to the Colorado. Not a single person died, and this was only the beginning of their journey. On this episode, we'll follow the path of these original settlers as we drive down Hole in the Rock Trail in the Grand Staircase Escalante. All right, good morning. We are headed down Hole in the Rock Road. This road goes from Escalante all the way down to the Colorado River in the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. Should be a fun day. All right, so we are about 30 miles down Hole in the Rock Road, and we've made it to Dance Hall Rock. And it's this beautiful slick rock formation where Mormon pioneers would gather on the route toward the Colorado. Dance Hall Rock is a natural sandstone amphitheater, and music was super important to the Mormon pioneers, who saw it as a way to revitalize spirit and connection to their religion. And so this spot here was a perfect place for them to congregate and to create music. So we're gonna go over here and see if we can feel some of that Mormon spirit at Dance Hall Rock. How wild to think that 140 something years ago, people were here partying, fiddling, doing jigs. Absolutely incredible. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a taste of the amphitheater sound here. Check out how cool this is. Yep. Hello. Can everyone hear me? Testing. 1, 2. You don't even need a microphone to amplify the sound. We had a long drive ahead of us, so before long we were back on the road headed toward the river. At times, this washboard road turned to slick rock. I can only imagine conquering this trail in wet weather when gaining traction would be doubly difficult. A good piece of advice is to always drive slowly and take your time. Back in the 1880s, the Mormon pioneers were looking for a shortcut to the San Juan River. And when they finally got near the Colorado, they encountered an obstacle, which was the rock. And therefore, they had to blast their way through that rock in order to continue on to create the settlement near the San Juan. Just prior to the creation of Lake Powell, a party of 49, including Explorer Scout Post 36 from LDS Provo, Utah, set out on an expedition to run the Colorado River Rapids between Hole in the Rock and Glen Canyon. Riding in an open truck, they reached this point at approximately 3:15 on the afternoon of June 10, 1963. The truck stalled as it ascended the grade and its brakes failed. Rolling backward, it overturned and rolled down the steep embankment on the other side of the sharp curve. 7 scouts and 6 adults lost their lives in this tragic highway accident. The sheer willpower and divine calling the original pioneers must have felt embarking on a journey through this harsh landscape with little knowledge of the physical obstacles they would face must have been not only exhilarating but scary. As one pioneer described it, the country here is almost entirely sand rock, high hills and mountains cut all to pieces by deep gulches, which are in many places altogether impassable. For us, tackling this desolate 120-mile drive that would reach temperatures of over 100 degrees on a challenging 4x4 road, not knowing how long it would take or where we would end up, was in itself a minor feat of exploration. We soon arrived at 50 Mile Spring Cabin. Despite efforts to research the area, besides what can be inferred, there is little to be found online about its history. So I want to show you guys a pretty interesting feature here at this 50 Mile Spring Cabin. Check out these footholds that ascend this rock here. If you look to the next level, you'll notice there's more up there, and then the very top, really hard to see them, there's more footholds that go further up. What in the world were the people who made those footholds thinking? Was it some kind of vision quest, a rite of passage? Is there something up there that was worth the effort? Or was it merely a way to pass time? You're almost there. I would be remiss not to mention the original inhabitants of this land and the impact of white colonization upon them. The Southern Paiute and their ancestors had for millennia inhabited the lands surrounding the Colorado River, conducting floodplain farming, hunting and gathering, and maintaining a culture and way of life that to this day we may never fully understand. With the arrival of the Mormon settlers, the Paiute were disenfranchised, water sources taken over, traditional hunting grounds corrupted by large grazing herds, and in many cases assimilation to the European settlers' religious and cultural values.
We made it to the 50-mile point.
So we are here at one of the most scenic spots that we have ever been to. This is called 50 Mile Point, this structure right behind us here. And as we were coming in, we did see one other Jeeper, and for the first time ever, I got ducked. This plaque commemorates the naming of the Hole in the Rock Arch, which honors the historic trek by Mormon pioneers to colonize San Juan County. The last 6 miles of the trail really do become the most fun part of the drive. The road has turned to slick rock, and you're finally nearing the Colorado. With each passing minute, one can feel the river's energy. We are just about at the end of the road. The hole in the rock. The road actually hasn't been all that bad. It's just a really long road. There are some slick rock sections and some cliffy spots. But other than that, as long as you have a high clearance vehicle and a little 4-wheel drive here and there, really kind of a pleasant drive.
It's the hole in the rock.
All right, we have made it to the end of the hole in the rock trail. We came from way, way, way up yonder. And like so often happens, we're the only ones here. Let's take a look at the sign. Huh? Oh, wait a second. There is no sign. That's okay, because we know the history. We're going to sign the permits and registration. We're not going to get a permit, we're just going to register. Or just be like, we were here. And then we're going to walk up over there and take a look at the old Glen Canyon. And check that out. There is a soaring hawk right up there watching over us. Let's take a look at this sign here. It says Hole in the Rock Crossing. Mormon pioneers of San Juan Valley crossed the Colorado River at Hole in the Rock, January 26, 1880. 26 wagons were lowered over the cliff that day. A total of 250 persons were in the party. All made the perilous descent and ferried the river here. So I guess this is the natural Colorado River, contrary to what I said earlier. I thought this was part of the Glen Canyon Dam, but I guess the river did come up to this area. Wow.
Imagine lowering 26 wagons on that.
I cannot imagine it. It would have been very difficult. It would have been really off kilter. Can you imagine making this perilous journey just to get here and facing this no hole in the rock and having to blast? There it is. Look how crazy. Whew. In January of 1880, the entire expedition surmounted the almost 1,000-foot drop down to the Colorado River and headed toward what is today Bluff, Utah, all without a single casualty. Being here, one can't help but wonder at all the emotions that this group must have felt. The courage, fear, despair, and ultimately the revelation that the faith they had instilled in their community had come to fruition. We spent some time looking at the inscriptions on the surrounding rocks, some of which date back to that historic year of 1880. Ever since, folks like you and I have made the pilgrimage to visit this awe-inspiring spot with an incredible story, and like those original pioneers have wanted to inscribe their names to commemorate their own journey into this vast, uncharted landscape. Those Mormon pioneers must have really celebrated hard when they got to that crossing there and saw the blue waters of the Colorado. They probably broke out their fiddles and their banjos and their guitars and probably had a good old hee-haw heyday, is my guess. I know I would. All right, well, a couple pieces of advice if you're planning on coming out here. One, get an early start. It took us probably about 3.5 hours to make it down here with a couple of short stops. Two, obviously, fill your tank up all the way. Even though we only used 1/4 of a tank, we still have about 60 miles to go back. It's gonna be hotter, it's more uphill. And then finally, bring lots of water. Make sure you have more than you need. As you can see, there are no clouds, there is no shade. It's completely exposed, completely dry, and quite hot. And you know, watch your air pressure on your tires and just kind of watch your gauges, because when you're out here this far, you want to be really careful about not getting yourself into any kind of trouble. So anytime you have an excellent adventure, it is customary to make yourself an excellent meal. So that is exactly what we're doing on our tailgate table right here. We have the stove set up. What are we making?
Grilled cheese on brioche buns with mustard and pickle chips.
Yum. Check out. And a view that beats them all. All right, let's take a look at the before image here. So colorful. How are they coming along?
Well, cheese is melting. Still needs a couple more
Ooh,
minutes.
those buns look crispy and yummy. let's take a look at what the artistic part of the off-road has to show for today. What kind of bird is this?
Pinyon jay.
Ah, the pinyon jay.
I saw a whole flock of them this morning.
Beautiful. Look how blue that is. Very pretty. So we are here at our second campsite of this trip, and we've been just hanging out this afternoon and enjoying the serenity of this vast landscape here. So way back in the 1990s, when Bill Clinton signed the proclamation declaring these millions of acres national monument, there's been a fight between folks like the ranchers, the mining industry, and of course the environmentalists who wish to protect wilderness areas. When Donald Trump became president, one of his directives was to decrease the acreage so that way new oil and gas and mineral leases could be opened up. So this is an ongoing space of controversy. So there's a lot to be said, though, for wilderness areas like this. Places where people like you and I can come and experience a sense of solitude, of separation from society, where you can't see city lights, where you don't hear noises at night, where you can see the stars in the sky. There's a lot of value in that kind of thing that I believe that we need to protect. All right, what are we having for dinner this fine evening?
Having roasted potatoes with the leftover pulled pork from yesterday, and bell pepper, onion, and a little cheese on top.
That just sounds absolutely delicious. Can't wait to eat it. So here is the final product of our gourmet camping cooking meal on this lovely evening. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Artistic Off-Road. Please like, comment, and subscribe to join us on future adventures.